Hello everybody, welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division for an exciting 18-hole cup. Madden Mobile Beast Mode 18-hole cup is coming up and we are going to play Sequoia Creek and the Lake Wabasca here in Golf Clash. Scan the QR code on the screen and improve your game today. We do have a premium guide for all the game modes in Golf Clash. Patreon.com/GolfClashTommy for tour and tournament play, and Patreon.com/GCTQuick9 for Quick9 play. Follow along in this playthrough by following the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Last but not least, if you enjoy the content here on the channel, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe and turn on the notifications. Let's go to hole number 1. Hole number 1, we are starting with setting spins directly, 5.8 top spin and 3 left spin. Once that's being done, we're gonna look to have the blue ring to be by the rough line with a poke 8. There's gonna be 30% blue ring into the rough with a poke 7, a poke 5 and 6, 60% blue ring into the rough, a poke 4, 90% of the blue ring inside the rough. Ball guideline to point straight down the center of the fairway. Adjust is going to be max plus a 10p 3 numbers. So we do make the adjustment. And it's time to center the ball and hit perfect. And the intention is to have this drive go somewhere between 321 and 324 yards. We are doing our very best to position ourselves for a short iron on the approach. On the second shot, we're using the Thorn level 8+. And then it's being done with a bottom white ring frame check here. Doing 3 left spin and 4 top spins. Very simple spins in that regard. Ball guideline to be now approximately half a green square through the hole. And you can see that we're going for a rough bump. A very forgiving rough bump also has to be said, as there is a little sticky spot that we play into. Adjustment is going to be 80% slider minus 10% elevation, P3 numbers. And that is from +3 and +4 shake. Even though I said you can play with Thorn 8+, you can definitely play with different short irons as well if you would so like. But Thorn is in the example here, and that's why I'm referencing that as a club. Perfect ball, clips the rough, roll down the green, and it looks like it's gonna stop short, but it never does on this hole because it's slight downhill and dropping the eagle. To start on hole number 1. Sequoia Creek par 3. This is one of my favorite par 3s, especially from 2nd and 3rd tee. We're gonna go for a rough bump. The rough bump most definitely offers the best possible chance here for us to drop an hole-in-one, in my opinion, at least in a consistent way. We're looking for the sticky spot that you can find there at the center of the green by having a very centered ball guide or straight ball guideline. Adjustment, medium distance plus a 10. You can see they're using 2 right spin and a little bit of backspin to have the ball guideline to the hole. If we do have a straight tailwind, I would recommend to have the ball guideline short of pin. The most difficult part will become if you do have a headwind. Ball guideline through the hole, but also then you will have to use a push-up. Or you're going to have to do overpower. This because we adjust from a higher to a lower point. Now bouncing down in the rough, rolling to be right at pin for a lovely hole-in-one here on hole number for the par 3 here of the Sequoia. When what needs to be said here with this hole of the Sequoia Creek is that you can obviously play bouncing on the fairway before the rough as well. Will, however, be less consistent in terms of going for the hole-in-one. So it's up to you to decide which way you want to play. Hole number 3 is going to be a fairly boring par 5, especially if we do not have the possibility to bounce over the water. You can see here now that with this type of wind and with a club such as Apocalypse level 5 or better, you would have the possibility to clear the water. So, but in this case, with Apocalypse level 4 and just an angled tailwind, that's going to be a stretch in my opinion. So what I would recommend here is that if you do have a tailwind or a crosswind for that matter, you can play with the rock. Otherwise, use the extra mile. The goal here is to get the ball to be as close to the rough at the top possible, and just to take it easy. We don't want to risk anything and go into the rough. Max plus 20 is what we're doing, and then trying to hit perfect. Obviously, a great left or a great right will not be as good, but it should still be fine. Like, we have a lot of room on the fairway, and once again, the only goal we have here is to position us as close to the rough possible to then have an open shot towards the green. So if you do not have the possibility to go over the water, this is only going to be played as an eagle and run play. You can obviously be lucky clipping the rough with the second bounce and roll it into the hole, but that, I would say, is gonna be not impossible, but very, very difficult, especially if you don't have a good ball guideline to use. So here I'm adjusting max plus 10. I'm pushing up a little bit because I was a little bit short of my target position, and then getting the ball to bounce on the fairway into the rough to roll down towards the green. You can see coming in a little bit hot, but there is room to roll hot here and just sit there for a nice and safe eagle. So once again, if you do have the possibility to clear the water with a drive, then we do that. Then we do have a long iron towards the pin. Not that I'm saying that that's going to be an easy shot to drop, but it's still going to be a chance to drop. I would say having to lay up, which will be the more common way to play, then it's an eagle, and then it's an eagle and then move on to the next hole. Hole number 1, start with the quarterback and don't add spin. We're looking at the top of +9 to also then have the second bounce to be approximately, I would say, 1/3 of a ring by the bunker, 2 right spin, and then we're going to set topspin based off what wind angle we're having. And why is that important? It's because if we do have too little topspin, we're going to get stuck in the rough. If we have too much topspin, we're going to roll over the green into the rough on the back. And obviously that's difficult in a scenario like this, and we're doing our best to compensate, obviously. 2.25 ball right curl. We're using a kingmaker here. You can see that I'm playing with a completely slow needle, and that's something that I really want to focus on here. You don't have to play with a kingmaker. You can play with any power 3 plus ball, but the difference between playing with a kingmaker, which is a power 3 ball, and a power 4 or a power 5 ball would be that if you are always playing with a power 4 and power 5 ball, you will always have a slow needle even in the most severe headwind angles, where off the kingmaker ball you will have some a slight shaky needle if you do have headwind angle. Now I did hit the pin. I'm not expecting this one to drop. I'm hoping and expecting myself to be on the green every single time, or at least close to it. Start with a basic ball and your quarterback. This, as we do want to have 3 backspin and 3 backspin only. We're going to have the inner ring to be just by the edge of the rough line with a ball guideline through the hole with the spins applied. Now we're going to make an adjustment that's going to be medium distance with a 10% over adjustment power 2 ball settings. And then we're going to obviously do wind angle tweaks based off different wind angles that we are having. Ensure to have no 1159 here, in my opinion. 1159 will pull you further back, and then you will lose distance, and then you risk getting into the bunker that is below the rough. But if everything goes as planned, it hits the rough, gets up, and we are dropping it nicely for an hole-in-one. This is a tough par 3, especially with an angle like this, where bouncing on the pad that is before the water is not really the best way to do it, because it's so hard to control the push from the tailwind. Then the rough bump is the one to be applied. So we recommend to play with a wind 3 or a wind 4 ball. Doesn't have to be a power 3. That's up to you to decide what type of power you want to use. For option number 1 on hole number 3, we're going to send it, and we're going to try to do it as simple as possible. We're not going to adjust anything. Stretch out to max with the blue ring by the rough line with a poke 8, obviously standard overlap as to the other epochs. This is for epoch 5 plus, needs to be said as well. Then we're pulling back, and we're doing that with the ball guideline straight, and we're pulling back to the specific plus yardage that is mentioned in the guide. 2 left spin and whatever top spin that is based on wind strength. Now we're not adjusting anything. We're gonna go 1 ball right and try to hit max overpower perfect. Great left is definitely better than a great right, because a great right is not going to be any danger, but it's going to most likely end up into the bunker, as you can see there. Sure, you could maybe tweak and go with a little bit more topspin if you want to push it, but we like this controlled way to hit the rough, roll out, and then have a wedge towards the pin. This is a shot as well where wind 0 ball is preferred. However though, if you do have a high wind with a wind 1, such as wind around 11 to 12 miles per hour, a berserker ball is most definitely sufficient to use there. For those that do not want to send it at all, then you go over and play option number 2, which is a layup, more conservative way, where the albatross is more difficult, but definitely a good chance. On the second shot, the wedge here, you can see that we're not having a straight tailwind. I'm not going to say that, but it's going to be close to that, in my opinion. So we're measuring the club, judging this one to be 60%. So I'm using 60% slider, ball guideline into hole, and I'm playing no spin. Adjustment is made. And if that's not already said, we play 20% elevation, P5 numbers, as we're using a power 5 ball. This ball is super big. I'm trying to center this one in the best of my abilities, but it's always going to overlap the arrows just slightly. Right the pin for a beautiful albatross. For hole number 4, we are going to bounce just before the bunker using our sniper. I know that there is a rough bump here, however though, the rough bump has never really been my favorite way of playing here, because I do believe we can catch the funnel a little bit easier from here behind. So you can see here that I'm adding spins and I'm moving the target as much right that I can to have the ball guideline pointing towards the pin, but also short, because we do have a tailwind. We need to have in mind that this ball guideline will be extended and we don't want to come in too hot, which is very easy on this par 3. Medium distance with a 20% over adjustment, center the ball, hit perfect, and you're gonna see yourself having a good chance for an hole in 1. I'm using a kingmaker to reduce the wind as much as possible. You don't have to play with a kingmaker because there's obviously other balls to choose between. But you can see right that pin, even though it was a little bit hot, but it's still a drop, and we take it and move on to the next hole. Hole number 9, which is hole number 5 of the Sequoia Creek. We are starting at P10 max rest. Ball guidelines centered into the tree, and this maybe looks extremely scary, but we will curl the ball around the tree, so there is nothing scary with this at all. We're just using the tree as our reference. 5.2 top spin and 2 right spin. Adjust is a max plus 20 P0 numbers. And once we have done that, we are going to push up 1.7 rings with Apocalypse level 4. No push up for Apocalypse level 5, 6, 7, or 8. 1.7 ball of right curl for those having a center line that goes down the center of the wall. Perfect ball, and we bounce on the fairway, and then for the ball to roll down. And with a little luck, we could most definitely see ourselves dropping a hole in 1. Sequoia Creek, hole number 6. So we are going to use our quarterback to start with, because we're going to look into having the first bounce on the fairway to then start over to bounce into the rough and roll out. Obviously, the quarterback is a perfect club when we do play in tailwind, but when it is crosswind and when it is headwind, I do recommend to play with an extra mile or with an apocalypse or with a Thor's hammer instead, and therefore I do have the extra mile suggested in the info box to the right. Max plus 20 is the adjustment using half a ball of curl to the right. And you can notice as well that I'm using a power 5 ball. The reason for a power 5 ball is to give us a possibility to play with our sniper on the second shot if we do get the distance enough. And now you're seeing that I do suggest a cataclysm here on the second shot, and that's because if you're not having sniper in level 9 or level 10, then it's going to be the cataclysm or the big dog to ensure that you do have the distance. But once again, if you do have the correct club and you get the correct distance of tee, then the sniper is definitely the far superior club due to its ball guideline, because we do want to be able to aim with the ball guideline towards the pin for the best chance for an albatross, because now with the cataclysm it becomes unfortunately too much guesswork, and me missing it to the left could be just due to me aiming too far left as not having the fully developed ball guideline to follow. 20% elevation on the second shot, and it's going to be somewhere between medium and maximum distance. Hole number 4, start with a power 5 ball, and we're gonna find complete minimum distance with the ball guideline going outside the cup on the right, and this is before spin. Once we have added that, we're going to play with 1 right spin and we're going to play with 2 back spin. Adjustment here now is 1-to-1, and in this angle we're not gonna do any tweaks whatsoever. So this is just 6.8 rings for 6.8 miles per hour. Center the ball and hit perfect. What you need to avoid is to have any big 1159 on, because that will pull you further back and that will make you risk missing the rough. However, if you have a straight pull angle, then that's never gonna be an issue. A great left and a great right are just fine. It will still hit the rough, but it will not go in the hole, obviously. Nice little hole in one here on hole number 4. So option number 1, which is the layup here, we're not gonna go aggressive here. Top of plus 7 for quarterback level 9 and level 10. Blue ring by the rough line, 3 left spin, 2.5 back spin. Adjust is 1-to-1 plus 0.5, so we're gonna adjust 8.3 rings for 7.8 miles per hour. If favor any side pull angle wise, we're gonna favor 1159. Goal is to get the ball up to approximately 330 yards. So we're gonna bounce on the fairway, and then the ball will slow down and curve down to the left. And even if it looks close, it's very safe when it comes to this drive. Sorry, not 303 yards was what I was looking for. So let's say 300 to 305. That's perfect. Second shot, we're gonna do a check where we do have the bullseye line with the pin, bottom left of the blue ring to be by the fringe. That's plus 1. That's going to be approx where we're gonna be all the time. 4.8 backspin and 1 left spin. Now we're going to have to offset on the left. We're going to use the bottom of the red ring as our marker point. Tip of the ball guideline to go approximately half a green square right of pin. Something like that. You can see that on the visual, obviously. Adjustment is going to be from plus 1 as our base. We're going to use 28% slider, no elevation, P3 numbers, and that's going to be adding or subtracting 0.1 for every 2 yards. Perfect ball it is, and we're going to bounce on the fairway up towards the pin, and we're going to get ourselves a nice little eagle on a very tough hole here, such as hole number 5. So, hole number 6, this is a shot where you can play with any type of P5 ball. I would recommend a ball with with wind 3 if you have that possibility, but wind 2 and wind 1 works as well. Start with the quarterback at the top of +11, blue ring by the red ring by the rough line, swap to a pock and cat bag. 2 left spin, 1.5 top spin, adjust max +10 P3, and then we're gonna go half a ball of left curl. The important part here is to try to avoid a great left. A great left will definitely be close to the rough. If you happen to clip the rough with your second bounce and roll out, then you have to just be a bit innovative on the second shot and get yourself to green. And that's why we're packing the Cataclysm as well, to always ensure that regardless the outcome of the drive, we will still be able to reach. But this is a tough par 5, especially in headwind, and we're trying to make this one as simple as possible so we can lock in the eagle with an outside chance of an albatross.
Hole number 5, which is hole number 7 of the Sequoia Creek. Here we are going to send it once again. We do have a nice little tailwind. We're going to get this ball to be close to the green. At P10 max stretch, bullseye centered on the fairway. An easy way to double check that you are centered is that the ring references, or the ring to the left and to the right, is as an equal amount into the rough. 6 top spin, 2 right spin, adjust this max +20 P0. And once we have adjusted, we are going to push up 0.2 rings. If we do play with Apocalypse level 5, Apocalypse level 4 is going to push up 1.9 rings. And we're using 1.5 ball of right curl, max overpower with a slow needle. The intention here now is to clip the rough with the second bounce. It's not to miss it, because we do want to use the rough to control the rollout and then have a short wedge from here. Now the wedge here from a reference, we do have the Endbringer, and we're gonna play an EB School type of version. This is also a very straight tailwind, which obviously helps to simplify this type of wedge. If you're playing a no spin EB School, your adjustment is going to be +20% P5 numbers. And no spin means no spin, so we're not adding any spins whatsoever. If we're playing the max top spin version of EB School, and which means that you can play that then with entering a level 7 or level 8, then you play -35% elevation P4 numbers. Perfect ball, and this should be a very nice and sweet eagle.
Hole number 8 is by far the toughest par 3 on the Sequoia Creek, and I do enjoy when we do have headwind here, because then we can play with our quarterback in complete minimum distance. I prefer this over playing with a sniper from absolute max line. So you can see here now that I'm putting my target into min distance, and I'm using whatever side spin and backspin that gets my ball guideline to point just right of the pin, and also slightly short. So even though it looks like we're gonna go short, it's not really how this hole and how this green works, because it actually will give you the correct distance once it gets up towards the green. Minimum distance with a 20% over adjustment, and I'm playing with a navigator. I would say this is a par 3 where I will most likely not spend any of the better balls on, and the reason for that is that even if we do have a drop to be able to follow, it's still a wildly inconsistent fairway that we are bouncing on, and that's something that will be complicated to always have a plan for and always have the possibility to adapt for. So playing with a navigator or Quasar or a Katana for that matter, I think is going to be the best ball that I will be playing with, at least, to not spend any kingmakers on this par 3. Hole number 9, now headwind off tee is not the funnest thing to have, but we are still able to play with the rock, which has a very good accuracy, and that helps us immensely when it comes to getting over to the second fairway on the left. 4 topspin and 3 left spin, starting at the +1 yard mark, red ring by the rough line, and now I'm going to adjust for max +10 P3 numbers. So adjustment is made just into overpower, so I do need to add a little bit of overpower here on the second shot. Full curl to the left, we do want to push the ball to be as far down the left side on the second fairway to be able to attack the pin by going with a rough bump. The more right we are, the further away from the pin we will be, and that's obviously going to complicate things, especially if we do have a little headwind. Now, for the second shot, we're going to use the sniper and we're going to do a rough bump. Here, obviously, if you do not have a sniper in level 9 or 10, or even, I would say, lowest level 8, then you either just play for an eagle or you choose another club that gives you more topspin, because the topspin here is the trick. We do want to have the ball guideline to go through the hole in headwind. In tailwind, we do want to have the ball guideline to go just to the hole instead. Adjustment here is true distance minus 5% elevation. So whatever club distance you have, then that's going to be the adjustment you're going to use as slider. Center the ball, hit perfect. And you can see here that I'm using a little bit of overpower, and the reason I do that is due to the headwind. So to compensate and not having to push up, then I'm using the overpower. So it zooms out very nicely and it looks good. Maybe we can get it to drop. We can. Right that pin for a beautiful albatross here on hole number 9. This one is not an easy one to drop, but that rough bump there is definitely giving us a good chance. Hole number 7 is a tough one, especially in tailwind as we go in between clubs. So what I decide to do is to play with quarterback, 3 back, 2 right spin, top of the red ring by the fringe, with the ball guideline to go through the hole. Once we have got the ball guideline through the hole, which we haven't got there until now, then we're going to swap to a spin that is 4.5 backspin, 1.7 right spin. It's not ultimate to do a spin swap, but unfortunately that's something we're going to have to do because otherwise we will come in too hot, and I don't want to offset from start. For those of you that don't want to do a spin swap, you can add the spins and try to replicate the ball guideline, which I think is very difficult. Adjust 1-to-1 minus 0.7. And we're obviously going to have wind angle tweaks here too. You cannot play this shot if you have a wind that is above 8 miles per hour with a power 3 ball. So if you're playing with a Kingmaker or like a Centurion or a Kingslayer, make sure that the wind is below like 8 miles per hour or below, otherwise you will pull into min club. Alright, so for the drive we're actually starting with Apocalypse at the top of +6 for Apoc 5+, top of +12 for Apocalypse level 4. With Apoc 8 we use Blue Ring by the rough line. Once we have found our position, we're swapping to Big Topper and Thorn Bag, because we do want to have all the top spin. This landing position is designed for Big Topper level 4+, as once you swap to Big Topper level 4 or 5, it's going to open at +29, which is max line. And then you can see with the more higher level Big Topper, it's going to open up further back, which is good. Adjust max +10 P5, and then we're going to push up 3 yards after our adjustment. 3/4 of ball in left curl, max overpower with a slower needle, try to hit perfect. A great left is to favor over a great right, and we want the ball to roll to 430 or better. I'm using a berserker ball here, and sure, we could use a ball with more wind resistance, but I do want to have the wind 1, as what it does is that it makes the ball being pushed nicely, and also second of all makes us adjust further back from the max line, which means that we get a slower needle on the overpower. For the second shot we're going to use 1 backspin and 1 right spin always, and we're going to look to have our ball guideline just short of the pin. It's not going to be into the hole, but it's going to be very close to it. And unfortunately I'm not zooming in properly here, so it's hard to see, but you should be not into the hole, just short. Adjust from +6 landing position, we have 90% slider, plus 40% elevation, P5 numbers. adding or subtracting 0.1 from there. Center the ball and hit perfect, and this is going to give you a good chance for a drop on an actual tough par 4. It's a long par 4, this one, and but nicely coming into the hole for an eagle. On the drive, we're gonna start with our quarterback level 9 plus incomplete max distance, and we're gonna try to make the quarterback to be absolutely centered on the fairway. 5.8 topspin, no side spin whatsoever, so we have swapped to our Apocalypse and Grizzly bag. Adjust max plus 10 P3. And once we have made that adjustment, we're going to center the ball and go to max overpower and hit perfect. This is with a slower needle or completely slow needle if you're playing with a wind 4 ball. Wind 3 ball might get a little shaky in the higher winds. We do want to bounce into the rough and take this little roll down to get to around 350 to 360 yards. For what I would say here is that if you have the possibility to play with a power 4 or a power 5 ball instead, do that. And the reason for that is that even if you then have a shorter drive, you will still have enough power on the second shot to not be out of range and having to guess. And I think that's definitely something that should be heavily suggested as limit ourselves with a power 3 ball if we don't have to. It's actually a good thing. So there we have it, the drive for hole number 9. So for the second shot, we're going to use our Grizzly, and as the lower level Grizzlies do not have as much topspin, we're going to play close to the rough line. So 3.5 topspin, inner ring to be just by the edge of the rough line, ball guideline through the hole. Now we're going to use our landing position plus yardage here, and we do have plus 3. Plus 3 equals 88% slider with a 10% elevation, P4 numbers, and then we're going to add or subtract 0.1 from there. We also want to have a favor 59 if anything. What I mean with that is that we should be trying to pull straight, but if it's going to flicker over to any side, it's going to be 11.59, not 12.01. Hits the rough, we're getting it to drop dead center for a lovely albatross here on hole number 9.
Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division 4, the Madden Mobile Beast Mode 18-hole cup. If you're looking to improve your game, we do have Master Division premium guides for all the 18-hole cups, and for the regular tournaments we do have Expert Division as well. Scan the QR code on the screen, or you go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy via the link in the description down below and sign up and improve your game today.